All right, today we are going to look at how to graph a quadratic function. Now remember, what do we know about quadratics? Quadratics are any function who have an x squared as the biggest exponent. So most of the time they look like this, x squared plus x plus some number. But sometimes they're just kind of like x squared plus 3. Maybe it's just x squared. But either way, they all have an x squared. So that's what makes a quadratic. Now, quadratic functions can have a couple different, options, I guess. You can have 2x intercepts that looks like this. See, it crosses twice. You can have one x-intercept where it just kind of bounces, or you can have no x-intercepts. And, side note, these things can also face down. So they could look like this, pretend that touches, or like this. So they can be up, open down. They can cross twice, once, or no times. What we are going to look at is when we've got a function that's in standard form. So standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. A lot of the times our a value is 1. So we'll have something like this. X squared plus, let's say 6x plus 8. So my a value here is 1 because there's nothing written there, so that's a 1. My b is 6 and my c is 8. So we're going to go through the steps on how you graph this thing. The very first thing we are going to do is find your y-intercept. Your y-intercept occurs when x is 0. So we're going to sub in 0 for x. So to do that, I'm going to say y equals 0 squared plus 6 times 0 plus 8, which of course equals 8. So therefore, my y-intercept is 0, 8, because I used an 8 for my y, and I used a 0 for x. So here's a 0 in the x position and a 8 in y. There's your y-intercept. You'll notice the shortcut is that the y-intercept is always the very last thing, the c value. Okay, there's our y-intercept. Now let's talk about the next piece. The next thing we want to find is the x-intercept. To find the x-intercept, the first thing we're going to do is factor. To factor this, we're going to ask ourselves what multiplies to 8 and what adds to 6. So you're going to sit there and say, okay, what are the factors of 8? Well, we've got 1 and 8, 2 and 4, and that's it. So 2 and 4 also add to 6. So I'm going to say y equals 2 brackets. You're going to make binomials, x plus 2 and x plus 8. We're using positive 2 and positive 8 because that multiplies to a positive, 4, because that multiplies to a positive 8. And it also adds to a positive 6. You might need to change those to negatives depending on your signs. X-intercepts happen when we sub 0 for y. So if I replace this y with a 0, I've got x plus 2 times x plus 4. Well, if I can get either of these brackets to equal 0, then it can multiply by the other bracket and it will make 0, because anything times 0 is 0. So because of that, I'm going to split this into two pieces. 0 equals x plus 2, and 0 equals x plus 4. So I split it into two. I'm going to solve. So move my negative 2 over here, and I get negative 2 equals x. Move the 4 over, and I get negative 4 equals x. So now I know that my x-intercepts have to be written as a coordinate, and I used a negative 2 for the x and a 0 for the y, so there's one coordinate. In this one I found negative 4 is the x and 0 is the y. So my x-intercepts are negative 2, 0, and -4, 0. All right, now we've got 3 super important pieces of information so far, and we're going to find our last piece. So here's my x-intercept. So I'm going to leave them written here. I also had a y-intercept, if you remember, that was at 0, 8. So, okay, so I've got these 3 pieces of information. Now, on our graph, we've got one more really important thing we need to find, and it is the lowest point on the graph. So if I go sketch this really fast here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I know right now is I've got an x-intercept here at -2 and an x-intercept at -4, and I've got, oh, my y-intercept's way up here at 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My y-intercept's up here. So if I sketch this, I know it's going to do something like this. So what I want to know now is, what is this vertex? The vertex lies on this invisible halfway mark. This halfway mark that kind of runs right here. And this thing is called the axis of symmetry. And it's in the center. It's right in between our 2 x-intercepts. Well, if we use just logic, what number is halfway in between -2 and -4? -3, right? All right, so we know it's -3. However, like everything else in math, sometimes that's not really obvious. So we need a way to find that. So to find the axis of symmetry, what we're going to do is we are going to take our 2 x-intercepts and we're going to add them together and divide by 2. So in this case, we're going to take -2 plus -4 and divide by 2. Well, -2 minus 4 is -6 divided by 2 is -3. Well, it's a good thing because we can tell that that's where it is. But this is the formula we use to find that. So my axis of symmetry is -3. That means that this vertex right there is on -3. So the vertex, I'm going to find the vertex here. The x of the vertex is -3. So now I need to know what y value it goes with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the -3 into my function, and that's going to give me the vertex. So to find the vertex, you sub in the axis of symmetry to find y. All right, so I'm going to say y equals x squared, well, I'm using -3 squared, plus 6 times -3 plus 8. Well, -3 squared is 9. 6 times -3 is -18 plus 8. So now I have 9 minus 18, which is -9. -9 plus 8 equals -1. So that is the y that I was looking for, so -1. And sure enough, come over here and look, there it is. That's about right. I'm not good at graphing, but that's about right. Okay, so these are the steps we take every single time. Let me run this by you one more time. You are going to always you find your y-intercept by using the c value. You find your x-intercepts next. You're going to factor, you split, you make it equal to 0, and you solve for x. Right? After that, you find your axis of symmetry, which is your x-intercept plus your x-intercept, divide by 2. Find your vertex. You're going to use your axis of symmetry to solve for y. Whew, okay, I hope that made sense. Kept it under 10 minutes. Awesome. Okay, you guys are great. Bye.